Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Rebecca Cooper, and I'm not really the realty broker here. Let me change that. And welcome to Pricing Pros, where we exercise our skills at doing comps and sales analyses and such, so that they're sharp and ready to rock and roll when we really need them. My standard disclaimer, I am not a pricing pro. I'm just like everybody else working to improve my skills and get some reps in, preferably before the 20 minutes that I need to provide it to a client, and try out some different properties that maybe I haven't either listed or had a buyer for before. And so we try to pick different types of properties, as much as we would all love to have the same, house layout in the Dries Homes subdivision, all built at the same time every time. It just doesn't seem like we get those very often. And even when we do, it always seems like there's something unique about them. So anyway, the way we do this is I will be, Fred has kindly brought us an interesting property for our workout today. So in just a moment, we'll let Fred kind of introduce the property. I'm going to put the address in the chat box or the chat here so that you can, if you're playing along at home, especially if you have a second monitor, you want to make the Zoom tiny and then sort of, play along and share what you're finding. It's 4020 General Bate, B-A-T-E Drive, and that's 37204.
All right.
Great. And so Fred's going to give us a little introduction to what he knows about this property. And we don't always get that insight. Maybe we haven't talked to a seller yet, but we're going to a listing presentation. Of course, if you're going to a listing presentation, you're probably not going to be sharing comps at that point because you want to gather some information from your seller before you really do the comps. But you want to be prepared and just, have investigated the property ahead of time. And then, of course, if you're representing a buyer, you want to try to find out all the information you can. But if it's not your listing, often all you have is what's in the MLS or the tax record. Pricing, doing comps, of course, is an iterative process. It's not a one and done thing. So here in a bit, I'll share my screen unless Fred wants to share his screen. We'll pull up RealTrax and start do some digging. And then towards the midpoint, we'll maybe run our first CMA, just kind of look at the data that comes through. And then we'll go and tweak our analysis to see what we come up with. And by the end, maybe we've got a good suggestion for Fred, maybe we don't, but we'll all have sharpened our skills for it, and hopefully it will be helpful to Fred as well. So with that, Fred, would you like to pause just a little bit, anything, and as I get my screen to share up about 4020 General Bate Drive?
Yeah, so this property, the address is 4020 General Bate Drive. It's near Lipscomb. If you want to look it up, you want to open RealTrax and look it up, you can. And as Rebecca said, play along. Usually what we'll do is a 1 mile radius. That's a good kind of starting point, and then tweak from there. The property is 1837 square feet. It's 4 beds and 2 baths. And it was built in 1950. It's been renovated. It's pretty nice. It's been, it was lived in by the owners for many years and has been a rental for the last 2 years. I'll give you a little side note of how this started, but I'll tell you some of the backstory later. The property is 0.45 acres. And so that makes it a very attractive property to builders. This neighborhood is popular. It's got 100 feet of road frontage. So it means you can put a good sized home on there and bring your values up. There's also new properties built on each side. There's 2 properties almost completed on the left side, and there's one that's at the foundation stage on the right side of it. So they've got a lot of inertia with the new construction around this property. Let's see, what else would I tell you? Oh, actually, the full size is 100 by 190. Oh, it's a good size lot. The owner is open to selling it to a builder for tear down, but they also would be happy if a buyer wanted to buy it and live in it and make it their own. So there may be some attraction for her to find that buyer, depending on how the pricing goes.
Alrighty, great, Fred. Thanks for the introduction there. And then Fred and I will just kind of be tag teaming along as we put together our initial search. And but please, anyone has a question, has a suggestion, speak up. Again, this is a workout session. We're all here to spot each other. And please don't feel like, again, Fred and I are the only people who can talk here. All right, so I'm starting out the search. I went to Real Tracks. And I just went to the main search box here and started out here. Seems like a good place to start. I typed in 4020 general bait and it finds it. So I click on that and it's not currently listed. It's not on the market. And so it's going to show me that it is, can't see, that is off the market. Now, if it says off market, it could be off the market because it's under contract, not showing. All right, but if it was active, it would take us directly to the listing page for this, for that active listing or the under contract listing. But since it's not currently actively listed, it took us here to this kind of blend page of CRS tax data information. All right, that looks kind of familiar, and MLS data here. And I like to start out here for a couple of reasons. Number one, I like to get oriented. I can look at the map, I can look at things around it, I can get some general information about the property type as I scroll down. And one thing that we can often do, if it has been sold through the MLS previously, over here in the sales history, we'll have an MLS number that is an active link, hot link, that we can click on and go to that former listing. Now, this property has been sold through the MLS three previous times. I don't know why the MLS number doesn't come up here, but that's okay. We're going to find this a different way, find out the previous listings, because that can be a good place to find out information about the property and additional information about the property. And what was the other reason I wanted to do it? I'll think of it in a second. All right.
I can actually have a printout with the MLS number if that would help you at all.
I do too, Fred. I just want to show everybody how I went about getting that. And then we'll pull those up. All right, we can also find some information about taxes, how long the current owners had it, and if it's in a flood zone. All right, so that's a nice snapshot. But I didn't find my lucky little, it's been sold in the MLS before. Oh, I remember the other reason I want to go, because sometimes you can still find the documents, attachments, property condition disclosure forms, and other stuff in those previous listings. So again, we're on a fact-finding mission right now before we start filtering out into our analysis. All right, so I didn't find what I wanted, so I'm going to check a different way. I'm going to go up to the search. I'm going to go residential. And I'm going to see now on Pricing Pros, I don't know, a month or so ago, we looked at a property on Davidson Drive, 937 Davidson with Annie Nilsson. And that property had never been sold through the MLS before. It was an original owner from 1960. So we didn't have our little sheets from previous sales to look at. So I'm just going to say closed. I'm going to pick Davidson. And alas, it appears that, okay. And then our street number is 4020. And then I'm going to give the street name with a wild card there. And I'm just going to go general. All right, and I'm going to search now and see if that comes up with our property. That's pretty specific, right? So let's see if we can find anything about it. Whoop, whoop. We found 3 previous sales in the MLS. So this gives us some information. Again, the information in the MLS system in Real Tracks is only as good as what people put in there. So you got to take everything with a grain of salt, of course, but this might be something. And look, there's some pictures. All right, that could help us when we'll want to take a look at those. But generally what I'll go to next is the most recent sale, right? But I like looking here, like, hey, look, the first time it sold back in 2001, it was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,500 square feet. The next time it was marketed, it was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,837 square feet. What? So we'll want to know more about that renovation that happened, right? Fred, do you see anything else on here that that you like us to look at before we dig into one of these?
No, only the pictures. I hadn't seen the pictures because I went to the property, so that might be interesting to see how they changed.
Okay, great. All right, so we'll see if it's got, it's just gonna give us the one, I'm afraid.
Okay, that's why. All right.
It's very cute. Is it still yellow or was it ever yellow? Was it white?
I'm not sure whether it was painted, but she painted it a color that actually I would have preferred the lighter color, but it's now kind of a reddish color.
Gotcha.
Most of the ranches they're painting, like everything else, white.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to go to the most recent sale, which is in 2005, and just scan through here and see if there's any additional information and normally what I'll do when I'm doing comps is I'll print out, I'm sorry about killing the trees, but I'll print out one of the MLS listings, and then I'll start doing my notes and everything on the back. And I'm sorry, my Roomba just started. Let me turn it off for just a second. Our power went off and I can't figure out how to change it back to its normal schedule. So sometimes it just starts. All right, sorry about that. So again, I'll print out an MLS listing and then I'll start taking my notes on here. So we'll just kind of scroll down. Sometimes I'll take a look at the map. We'll just scroll down. So Fred, there's no basement, it's a crawl space, it's all brick. Fred told us it's almost half an acre, which is important. Fred, is there any it says parking is open, so no covered parking?
There's no garage or covered parking. There is a pavilion in the back that she put up. It's kind of an open structure with a roof on it.
Okay.
But it's more just for people.
Gotcha. It's got a fireplace.
Which doesn't work anymore. They took the chimney off.
Oh.
So take that off the
all right.
item list.
And then I'm going to scroll on down and see if I can find any attachments. Oh, rats, there's nothing there for me. All righty. So now the next step that I would do from here is I would go to the tax record to see what additional information we can find. And normally, of course, over here, there's a link to the tax record. Why there's not in this one, I don't know. So let's scroll back one. Nope. So can't show you one here, but right over here, there would be a hyperlink that says record, right? RECORD, and we could click right there and it would take us to CRS tax. But if that's not there, then we can come over here to search, go to tax data. It'll open up a new screen for us. And we'll just type in 4020 general bait and see if there's any additional information over here that we'd like to see. All right, I like to look here. I like to take a look at the map. Teddy Pins, he was on here. He likes to go on and take a look at some of these map layers that we can add. So I'm going to go on and open that up. See the little arrows there. Boop. Boop. All right. So of the different layers you can put on, recent sales, let's see what labels we got. I forgot what labels we have. No, I don't want that. FEMA flood zones, that's always a fun one to turn on. I don't think it's a flood zone over by Lipscomb, but I could be wrong. And we'll turn on zip codes. All right, so just taking a look at the property. All right, there you can see the flood zone, right? I had to pull out a little bit, zoom out supposed to end to see the flood zone. So, but if you were in the area, let's say over here in East Nashville near Shelby Park or something, you might want to take a look and just make sure and see if that's in the flood zone or not. And you can see it. All right, so then I'm going to go back to the property report.
Oh, there's something I wanted to show you, Rebecca. If you can go back to the map.
Happy to. Okay.
There's something interesting on this. If you examine this street, and I'll give you a clue, General Bait, if you zoom in, Rebecca, you'll see there's the property, the individual house profiles are different on each side of the street. And see if you can tell me what the difference is.
Well, I do notice HPR is going in over here.
Correct. That's exactly right. There's different zoning on each side of General Bait.
Interesting.
And that's the first question somebody's going to ask you if they're selling a property. Can they put twins up? So I looked into this a little bit, but the first clue I saw was that there were twins on one side and single families being built on the other. There is a dividing line between General Bait, goes right down General Bait. To the right side is Oak Hill. To the left side is Lipscomb. And so there's two different zones right in the middle of that street, on each side of that street.
Interesting. So over here on the side with the subject property, this is considered Oak Hill. And then over here where the Twinkies are going up is not Oak Hill.
And it's deceiving because Oak Hill you think is farther south of this, but this is one little peninsula that sticks up to the north. That's in Oak Hill.
Interesting. One of the layers we can turn on, and of course, zip codes don't always indicate. If we zoom out a little more, got that turned on. Interesting, because it seems to say Lipscomb Heights.
I don't know how I found it, but I found a map that showed the different zones. It was a zoning map, maybe not. Well, it wasn't through this MLS tax suite, so maybe different.
Gotcha. Well, and that brings up a point. Let's go over to the parcel viewer.
That's where I found it.
Love the parcel viewer. All right, and this is where we can go. This is the Metro Nashville. It's at maps.nashville.gov's parcel viewer. All right. All sorts of good information that we can find over here. Fred, look, Forest Hills, Oak Hill.
There you go.
Maybe that's where he saw it. All righty, so I'm gonna do my search here. I'm gonna go by address or intersection 4020. See if we try General Bait. There we go. Here we go. All righty, and let's see what information. Let's come over here and see what information we can find. All right, so here's the information, just general information, who owns it, when it was last sold, sale price. All right, acreage, there's the road frontage that Fred was talking about. So it's a nice deep lot too, looks like. All right. And tax district is Oak Hill, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. And the appraisal, last appraisal information. All right. So ownership history, if you need to know who to contact. Property history. All right. Just a little date established, 1949. Zoning history. Aha. Zone code 8ZZ. Never heard of that. We'll have to check the legend for that. I have no idea what 8ZZ means.
I still don't know what it is.
So, well, we can find that out, I think. And if we can't find it out, we can call Colin. I believe Colin is the mayor of Oak Hill. I mean, not really the mayor, but I think she lives in Oak Hill. All right. So it is a special zone. All right. So that's going to be important information if you're going to market this to a builder. And zoning information for me, it's like a lot of information. If I don't understand it, I know just enough to be dangerous. So if you're not an expert and know how to advise a builder on what this means, generally we don't want to be the source. We want to be the source of the source. We can say what the zoning code is. It will be their responsibility to look up what that means. But it doesn't mean we don't need to educate ourselves. All right. Okay. There's the assessment history. Permit history we're going to be interested in because we're pretty sure that something happened sometime between when it sold in 2001 and when it sold again in 2002 because the square footage changed, right? From 1500 to 1837, and it went from 3 beds, 1 bath to 4 beds, 2 baths. So we can scroll through here and see, there was a permit issued in 2001 for HVAC, for gas, for, electrical, a full electrical permit. So, and again, I don't know what these permits mean exactly, but I could advise somebody permits were pulled for something, probably this major renovation that happened. And here's where you can go try to find some information about it, right? Now, don't get me wrong, I get interested sometimes and I'll click on the permit and I'll start digging down that rabbit hole just to see. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to know what it means. And eventually, when you go over here, you have to wait. It processes, it processes, it processes. Sometimes it says they're not found. I don't know why. Clearly, I just clicked on the number and went there. Sometimes it'll have the full permit there that's been scanned in and you can find information. I did that recently on a home that I'd showed to a sorry, I went back to the wrong place. A home I showed to a buyer. And when I walked in, it took me a minute to figure out what the smell was. Like, I know that smell. It's been a long time since I've smelled that smell. And the smell happened to be, when I figured it out, I was like, there's been a fire here. And now again, let's see, my favorite permit, Sylvia says, my favorite permit is the proof that the house was connected to sewer. Excellent. If it was built before sewer was available, to see if they've been connected. And then Sylvia also asked, what is the zoning 8ZZ? We have no clue. We assume it's City of Oak Hill. All right. So anyway, smelled something that smelled a lot, and I didn't share that with the buyer at the time, but I was pretty sure there had been a fire there, and that might explain why they had recently renovated it to the studs. So I went to look on my little investigation, and sure enough, there had been permits pulled, and they were listed as a rehab from a fire. So anyway, and then I can share that information. Hey, there's some permits. Seems like there was a fire. You might want to check it out. We're happy to ask the seller, will you share any information about the fire? But again, we're not the expert on the fire, but we do have resources to help our buyers, figure some of these things out. Fred, anything else, or Sylvia, anything you want us to look at here on the parcel viewer? It's just a great place to go find out some information. On the layer, see, you can see here, over here, you can see this zoning's R20 over here.
Well, I've got a question. Those lines, those angled lines, are they just indicating a different?
Let's see.
Area, but I don't know the distinction between these lines and this not having lines.
Fred, I need my legend to come back. Anybody on here know how to bring my legend back? There we go.
Oh, there we go. Planned unit. No, that's red though.
I know it says those are red lines, not black lines. Fred, I don't know the answer to that.
Find out. Yeah, I may not be to be.
TBD. All right. Stay tuned. Next time on Pricing Pros, we'll figure out what those little lines mean. So, all right.
I wonder if it means Oak Hill.
That's what I thought. That's what I assumed, but I didn't know. I guess you could zoom out and see if those continue all the way in that area.
Kind of hard to see.
You have to go out of ways that find they're still there.
Yeah.
It does look like Oak Hill.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why they're defining that, but I guess the rest of it is not considered. Well, you know why? Because this is called the city of Oak Hill. So maybe that's why they're having to differentiate it from the rest of this.
I don't know. Forest Hills, same thing over here. Bellmead, same thing. Maybe it's because they have zoning that's specific to that. If we went over to here at a house in Forest Hills, maybe it would have its own zoning.
Well, and
And-
that makes it be within the city of Oak Hill because it's actually defined as the city of.
Mm,
So Forest Hills may be in the city of Oak Hill. I don't know.
could be. Same thing with Berry Hill, Bellmead. And again, this is, I can't stress this enough. I'm not a pricing pro. I don't know what that means, but it means something to somebody, and it could be, it's an area you could go investigate, ask somebody who knows, find somebody who understands zoning if you want to speak to zoning. Or if you have a client who needs to, someone to speak to zoning, find someone and partner with so you can get them the information that they need and it'll be accurate.
My assumption
I'm
would
pretty
be
sure.
they define that because it's different zoning than the rest of this.
Gotcha. Sylvia, what'd you say there, Sylvia?
I'm pretty sure that Oak Hill is different, like Forest Hills, Bellmead, and I'm guessing that zoning is an Oak Hill thing. I'm trying to look it up right now. I don't think it's part of the regular Nashville zoning code. That I've never seen that before. It may be specific to Oak Hill.
And I really
but
wish,
those I think those bold lines are Oak Hill. If you look in the layers, it'll probably.
I'm sure it's different zoning, especially that since they have that 8ZZ, which is not anything that's common. I think they have their own restrictions in that area. I know
really,
the homes are, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I was going to say that the standard building, you can't, for instance, you can't do a duplex on these, on those Oak Hill lots. So they have their own set of requirements. There's 8 different distinctions, and they're all based on square footage, and they all stand for different size lots that you can put a single family on. And they go from, I don't know, 10,000 square feet up to 5 acres that they will require that you have to have in the city of Oak Hill to put a single family house on.
Hey, look, there's Davidson Drive. That's where Ann's listing is. And this would be the rabbit hole that I always get sucked down. And so it's like real estate Facebook, real estate, I was going to say an illegal drug name, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, we're going to go back to before I go down there, before I put too much on this recording that I don't want people to see. We'll head on back but I really wish on the parcel viewer, that 8ZZ for the zoning code, I really wish that was a clickable link that then or a pop-up that would say, here, let me explain to you because we can find that on the national.gov site, what all the zoning codes mean and stuff. There is all that information. And for next time, maybe I'll have a quickie link to that page, but I won't dig around for it now. Let's go find out what we can do in our search over here. So I think we're ready to start it. All right. So let's go to, I'm going to go back to our regular, I'm going to start over from here. For those of you who have been joining Pricing Pros for a while, you'll know that RealTrax is going through some major upgrades, major upgrades. And some of the search tools are going to be going away. So what I'd like to do is, this is the new search system. The old search system is going to go away. So I want to start here. So what I did is I typed in the address in the search box. We found our property. Then I'm going to go to browse map. And this is where Fred had mentioned we usually go about a mile out. And that's trying to think like an appraiser, right? We want to look at comparable properties that are within kind of a tight geographical range. All right, so that drops a pin for us there at General 4020 General Bay Drive. Now, if you're coming at it and you're on a map and you didn't come from a property, so you don't have a pin dropped, you can always come over here to the right and click on center and then type the address in there, and that'll do the same thing. Show you how it works. Boop, boop, same pin. All right, and then I'm going to start. The first thing I'll do is I'll start with just a circle and go out for a 1 mile radius, which can anyone name an author of a book called 1 Mile Radius?
Mark
Deutschman, that's right. He wrote a book. Got the fellow who started Village, of course, wrote a book called 1 Mile Radius. All right, So we're just going a mile out from there, and that's kind of nice. It touches right on 440. Generally, we don't want to cross over any major boundaries like a river or an interstate because, or even General Bait Drive, right? Because on the other side of it may mean something else. So let's go there and then just click search listings, and that'll show us what's going on within a 1 mile radius. And that's a pretty good place to start. Okay. All right, so there are a couple of active things around there, something really close by, and on the same side with the 4020 General Bait, so that's excellent. And just to play around with the interface a little bit, this little arrow over here, you can close it and the little thumbnails go away. You can open it and the little thumbnails appear, and you can just kind of scroll through. You can change your view and look at a list, which we'll look at in a second. All right, or we can do the full thumbnail grid where we can just scroll through and look. Fred, what look would you like to start with? Grid, list, or map?
Let's start with the map.
Okay. All right, how would you want us to, based on what, you know, what you've, because you've done this a couple of times already, how should we tweak this map?
Well, can you click on the property that's very close, that one?
This
that's
one?
79?
Yes.
No.
All right, that's 4016 Russellwood. You can see there's just barely a darkened outline over that. When I clicked on it, it jumped down to that one and then put kind of a dark line around it.
All right, because, and this one is this much larger, probably what I would do is I would get rid of some of the larger square footage properties. It wouldn't necessarily reflect the value of the lot, but in this case, that price is based on the square footage of the house. And what happens in this neighborhood, once you get to a certain size, people are selling the houses to keep. They have more value to sell as a house than they do as a lot. And that's an example of that.
Gotcha.
Now, subject property is only 1833 square feet. That's only a suggestion. You can do whatever you want, Rebecca, because you're used to doing these. So if you want to take the broader view first, that's fine. You want to look at the list first and just see what the ceilings are?
Yeah, I like to take a look at the list just because I like numbers better than pictures.
Okay.
But just to kind of see what the range is from, again, you can, if you prefer to look at the smallest to largest to smallest, however, that's one way you can look at it. We can see it goes from, we've got some that have 5 beds, 4 baths, and again, ours is 4 bed, 2 bath. So again, we're just kind of taking an overall view of the landscape of everything that fell within that 1 mile radius and start deciding if there's some things that are in the funnel right now that we want to pull out, right? For example, square footage. Seems to me that 8794 might be a little on the high side to keep as a comp. But
well, here's the important thing to look at first, because we're looking at builders. It's good to know what they can get. It's good to have a sense, even though we're not going to do the calculations in this. It's good to know what the top end a builder can get in this neighborhood. That helps you have a sense of what the lot should sell for, and that $5 million property is definitely an anomaly. But
so I just filtered by the build date, so you can see what's been built in the last year or so. To Fred's point, because again, still trying to decide with the seller, does the seller want to sell it to a builder, for land, basically for land only, and what could they get for it, or does it make more sense to sell it as a single family home? All right, so let's start refining our search. So if you want to, so based on all that we have in the search right now is that circle, right? The 1 mile radius. So let's go over here to refine our search. The property class is residential, right? Correct, we want to use that. Property subtype. Do we want to add any limiters to this? We want to do single family residence, right? We want site built, not 0 lot line, not modular home, not manufactured, not HPR, none of these things, right?
Yep.
All right. Let's see what's in the chat. Oak Hill zoning. Thank you, Sylvia. In the chat is info on Oak Hill zoning. All right. Now here you can see as we start to create our additional filters, how we're going to take this big glob and start pushing things down our funnel, you know, to hone in on the comps that really make sense. You can remove your map drawing here if you want. I like to leave it on there just for visual. And then at some point we may come and we may adjust the map. We may pull it away from Oak Hill and just make sure we're staying not Oak Hill. All right, or vice versa. Said that wrong. All right, let's scroll on down. Let's see, beds, minimum. Do we want to do it? Do we want to land right on 4, Fred? What do you think? Do we want to include anything that has 3 bedrooms? Anybody else have a feeling about that? Or baths?
I'm not saying anything so that the other kids can play.
Yeah. I'm gonna go down to square footage. All right. This one is 1837 square feet. We already took a look at what builders are building currently, up to 8,900 square feet. How do we feel about 2,600? Again, we're just starting to filter down. We don't have to cut to the chase to start with. This is an iterative process where we can make adjustments and then refine those adjustments to get done.
Fine.
All right. Acreage is important, and to Fred's point, some of these lots may have a whole bunch. So do we want to cap the acres at 1?
Yeah, like you said, you're sort of culling down. So
Yeah, right. And year built, we don't want any new construction in here.
Mm-mm.
For this, we've taken, there's value in seeing it, of course, but for this, for getting the sales comps, and we want to kind of, what do we think?
1970 or something.
Yeah, this one was 1950. It's been renovated, and it's been renovated in 2000. So I'd say we could, that seems to be when 2001, 2002. So we even could compare it to things that have been, you know, built in the early 2000s, I would argue. Let's do year built 2000. All right. And now let's just see. Again, it's we're not getting married. We're just going on a date here. It's just lunch. Oh, now we only have 5. All right. Now we'll check in with Fred now. Fred, do these 5 look familiar to you?
Let me see. I have, I'm actually at a job site. Where I'm staging a house, so I don't have all my stuff here, but I do have
Yeah.
a
No,
quarter.
all good. You
No,
know what?
I probably do have these. Let's see.
I know what we're missing.
Woodhaven I've got. Woodhaven is, it's priced as high as it is because they're saying it's a short-term rental. But the odd thing about it, it says owner occupied short-term rental, but there's not, it doesn't indicate that there's any secondary living space. So
Well, I know what, as soon as I did that, I realized what we were missing.
What?
Does anybody think, okay, so we're doing comps. What of the listing status, what is our #1 most important valuable listing status for comps? Anybody?
Closed?
Closed,
No.
last one.
Closed. We're missing closed, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go back to refine search. And I missed it. The default listing status in RealTracs in the new search is active, coming soon, and hold, under contract showing. But we also want to add under contract not showing, and we want closed as well. All right. And closed in this, you know, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs market, depending on the neighborhood, I'll do 6 months, but let's start with a year and we can always change it. Okay. All right. I'm feeling much better now. I knew 5 wasn't enough. All right.
Hey, you guys, and Fred, I think that you touched on this, but the Oak Hill zoning thing, I didn't see anything about whether a duplex could be there or not, but it said they're like different lot sizes that allow different things, and it up to 10,000 it's one thing, and then up to 20,000 it's another thing. And so this is a 19,000 square foot lot, so we have to go down to the 10,000 rules, and it's you can build something 5,000 square feet or 50% of the 19,000, something like that. So when we're looking at, pulling up bigger houses, like what land, like if somebody wanted to buy land and then build an 8,000 square foot house, that couldn't be done on this lot. So just in terms of, I just wanted to throw that filter out as we're toggling back and forth with, see the yellow, I think it would fit in that category. Just as we're toggling back and forth and looking at the land value,
Yeah.
you really have to know what can and can't be built there in order to get into a builder's head.
Yeah, that's correct.
But if you can build a 5,000 square foot house, that probably checks a lot of boxes. So it's probably not a limiter in terms of somebody wanting to build something big there.
Yeah, that you're absolutely right. And the comparables out there that are built new are about 4,500 square feet, and for that reason, because it matches a lot of size. And then so that other one that is so large is in a much larger lot. It's not typical.
It's an outlier, so you can't really look at that as a comp for the builder or as a comp as a sale.
So to get up to 9,000 square feet, you have to jump up to 20,000 square. Wait a minute.
Yeah, 20,000.
So it sounds like 20,000 you could still get that number out. I think out of no.
This has 19,000 square feet. It's just under the 20,000.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry for the distraction, but yeah, all land is not equal, so it really is. They're going to be looking at all that.
Here's what I wondered about what I saw, and that was that it said single family, but I didn't know if there was any additional background information that I wasn't seeing. But just looking at the general zoning for City of Oak Hill, it said single family on all these lots.
No, Sylvia, I think this is great. And thank you so much for finding this for us, because it is important. And again, if this isn't your area of expertise yet, it's still great to go and find this information and know this information, but partner with someone who can help you talk through it and understand what it means. Now, so we're talking about the minimum lot area here. So, as a reminder, 1 acre equals 34,560 square feet, right? So we know the acreage is 0.45. So you take 34,560 times 0.45, and that came up with 15,552.
Or you just cheat and look at the CRS tax record, and it'll say how many square feet it is.
Right, but if you're taking your pre-licensing exam, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, I love it.
Kidding.
I love it. Don't make us think, Rebecca.
Well, it's and of course I like to share this one because I got this in pre-licensing. To remember it, it's so, I'm sorry, I typed the wrong number in there. No wonder that number came up wrong. All right, sorry about that. See, I'm trying to be so helpful, and I went all dyslexic on you. It's 43,560 square feet is in an acre. So 43,560. I'm not on my game today. There we go. 19,602. That's the number, right? But to Sylvia's point, you can just look in CRS tax. But if somebody's like, oh, it's half an acre, does that reach, that's how you do it. And you remember the 43,560 because it's 4 old ladies going 35 miles an hour in a 60-mile-an-hour zone, right? So that's what I learned in pre-license. All right, enough about that. Okay, so important information to know, because we might want to, again, look at lot size, and that could be a limiter. Again, as Sylvia said, not all land is equal. Okay, so All right, back over here. Now we got 46 listings. Yeah. Okay, I mean they're all comps, but now we've got a better picture. All right, so now me, I'm like ducking and weaving, ducking and bobbing. I went back over to the map just to take a look again at sort of the distribution where things are and see if it makes sense to make any adjustments there or make any adjustments to our criteria. And again, as we're, squishing all this data down into a funnel, and some of it's not going to make it all the way through, right? So we're just trying to zero in, hone in, hone in. All right. Any suggestions for how we might further limit our criteria to really zero in on the right comps here? I'm happy to look square footage. Now, I don't have acreage on here, right? So let me go over here. Is that where I want to go? I forget how to add the column. Can somebody
Rebecca, in this particular case, I mean, obviously, if you've got the 5 acre, the 20 acre estate with the, horse fence and all that stuff, that's one thing. But because you could build, say, a 4,500 or 5,000 square foot house in this lot at its size, I don't think, and that could be a typical builder thing. I might cap it under 5 acres, but I wouldn't necessarily micro manage the acreage. Does that make sense? Because you want to appeal to the most people for the most amount of money. So if a typical builder would be happy to build a 4,500 or 5,000 square foot house there, they could do it on an acre, they could do it on a half an acre. You're not necessarily more limited. This is not going to be the, the 20 acre estate.
Right.
Different
estate, right. And thanks, Sylvia. And by the way, Sylvia, it's so nice to see and hear you. This is the first, I've been on with you on Zoom when you had a camera and a microphone. Yay.
Well, I had to cave to get credit for the, the Tennessee, the Spring Tennessee Association of Realtors, whatever it was.
Yeah, you had to be on camera. Gotcha.
And I didn't
well, what I was going to do,
and forever.
And again, sorry, this interface is new to me just the last 6 months, so I still get lost sometimes. But let's say there are other criteria, there are other categories of information other than ones that are here. This is just my default view. But if I want to add some, let's say that acreage really did matter. You click on the little cog over here for the settings and go add, remove columns. And then you can see the ones that are checked. If some of them don't matter, I can check it off. I mean, it's nice if they're pictures, but I'll take that off. But then I can scroll down and add others, right? So something else that any of these other bits of information, you can add those. Well, I'm just going to go with acres, but you get the point there. All right, acres, save. And there it is. It'll add it over to the right. But if I don't like it there, I can move them around just by grabbing them. All right, so just a little tool to help. And it's thinking it'll take a second. But there you go. All right, so let's say in your search, it really is important that you have that, and that it needs to be, at least 10,000 square feet or whatever. Then we want to do that. All right. All right, let's go back to our search one more time. And let's do a little more tweaking. Get it a little finer, and then let's run a CMA real quick. All right. Square feet. Do we feel good about this? Do we need it after our discussion?
I might take it down to 22, but I don't know how far. Take it down. What do you think?
Well, let's see. If we do, it'll drop out these three here,
I
right?
guess I would do 22 as well, except I would look at the ones between 22 and 28, and let's say there's a bunch of just barely usable basement space as part of the bigger square footage, which in that area, very hilly, there could easily be basement square footage, and there could be like crap basement square footage. And so if you've got enough information with the smaller square footage, then that's probably good enough. But if I were searching, let's say, you only get 3 things if you narrow it down, then if I were gonna broaden it again to the 2,800, I would look at, okay, is there some crap square footage in here, which would make it more apples to apples.
Right.
You want to go ahead and run that, Sylvia? We could do 22 to 28 and then get rid of those ones we don't want.
Well, and again, we're just having lunch. I get
Right.
married
You're
here.
right. We're learning.
Or if you've got enough at the 22 or below, I mean, I probably would have done 22 or below to start, but
Gotcha.
and if there's enough information in there, then you can just go from there. Although I had a listing recently where it's interesting. I had a 4-2, and so when I was looking at comps, I did 3-4 and 2-2. Well, there was another house that was very similar that was 100 square foot smaller and only 1 bath, and it sold for $100,000 more. And so where this is such a seller's market, it was important for me to have seen that as a comp because it was an inferior house, but it supported a higher potential appraisal price. So that's a nuanced thing too.
And again, I'm kind of eyeballing. I thought this one jumped out, 4413 Soper. We were limited to just things that have closed in the last year. So it closed in August of 2020 at 490. And then it's been listed at 785. So that could be good information for Fred's seller. Here's one thing. What if you don't tear it down, you just rehab it? So I'm feeling pretty good. We're down to, we got 29. So let's go on and run a CMA on it. And
can I ask you a question, Rebecca?
yes,
in that example, it shows that it's now been on the market for 50-something days, 56 days, right? So what do you think of that? Do you think it's priced too high?
That would be my guess. I mean, come on, folks. Have you checked the market weather? I mean, something's going on here. Hey, Mary B, let's just take a look and see, And when we run the comps, maybe that'll give us an idea too, because both these will show up in there. Let's see. Put your magic touch on this property one way or the other, and you'll be glad you invested in it. Oh, it's a rental. Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty basic inside. I already looked at this one. The finishes are basic. It's a rental level. That's why they haven't sold it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right, great question, Mary B. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to run our CMA. We're not going to, there are all sorts of different ways you can go about this now. You could go on over to the grid. This is one way we went through it with Ann Nilsson, her listing. She likes to clicky through and, we can look over here and scroll through the public remarks. If you see anything sold as is for comp purposes only, built on an ancient pet cemetery, anything like that, it might tell you, hey, I probably need to pull that out. It's not really going to be a good comp. Or you can, if it says renovated, you can take a look, open it up, just glance through the pictures really quick and see, is it really renovated, really not? Sold for an estate, close an estate, things like that. You can get all sorts of information. See, sold, pre-sold for lot value only, house being conveyed as is, where is. Now, if that's the state of your subject property, then yes, you want to leave that in there. So it's not to say if you see that it's an automatic, you get kicked out. but it's another way of looking to refine, make those fine adjustments to these properties that have currently been selected for CMA to see if you need to pull them out. But for now, we're going to pretend like we're not going to do that. Actually, we're not going to pretend like we're not going to do that. We're actually not going to do that. All right, so if you think you like everything that's in here, you can check this checkbox here. Now, if there's one, you know, oh, man, I just really want to leave that one out. I know that's for sure. It keeps popping in. I don't know why. You can always take it out, but we can do that later. All right, then I come over to 3 dots and click CMA, and boom, here we go. All right, so here are the ones currently on the market. Under contract not showing. Huh, nothing under contract showing. Yeah, that's kind of a pointless category anymore, isn't it? But then the closed, we love the closed, right? So you can scroll through here and you know, see how this stacks up to our general bait drive. Remember, we are 4 beds, 2 baths. You know, you got some 2 1s in here, 992 square feet. Is that really comparable? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Acres, 0.19. Is that really comparable to our lovely, luxurious 0.45 acres? I don't know if it is or not. But these are things you can look at. Garage spaces, that can be a big thing to have covered garage spaces or not. Over here, I live in the East Nashville area, and that's primo. Over here, that commands a premium price. All right. Anybody see anything interesting over here? Like, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't seem to fit. I like looking over here at the time from listing to contract, and then the time from contract to close. The median days on market is 2. I think we're all feeling that. All right.
Can you sort these by price so we can see compared to acreage?
Sure.
To acreage.
So let's go back to our results. And you want sorted by price? Is that what you said? Okay, so we've sorted by sales price, lowest to highest.
Go down to the bottom, or yeah.
And then
Let's look at highest first.
there we go. I'm sorry, you want the highest first?
Yeah.
Okay. Click that again. My little arrow change. Okay. Everybody's checked. We go back to the 3 dot. Oops. I'm logged in as Teddy. Oops. You all didn't see that. All righty. So now we go down here. Okay. And it's pulling in my acreage here. You can see here's the sales price. Acres over here. And again, you can move these columns around.
The only small acreage is the one that's 0.27.
What's it?
Right
What about this one?
It's a smaller acreage and it's still up towards the top. The rest of them are almost half acre or acre.
Yeah.
I mean, almost half acre.
I wonder, I'm curious if it's been renovated. So you can always like, huh, doesn't that seem funny? Let's just take a look. No, doesn't say it has been. It says updated bathrooms, partially finished basement. Easy to show, that must be why it commands such a high price. Why do people even put easy to show? What does that mean? All right, how do I get back to my... No. Am I stuck? Crud. I think I'm stuck. How do I go back? Let's try back. Oh, great. So we lost all our stuff. Fantastic. All right, that would be a glitch with the new interface and we're out of time. Look at that. So you cannot save a search with this new search tool. So I'm just gonna go back real quick. I'm gonna recreate this super duper quick in the old tool. And Fred's going to do a little song and dance about this while I pull this back up. Fred, what have you seen so far? Have there been any benefits to this exercise for you? Anything that has helped you in, going through these iterations on top of what you've already done? If you could share that.
Well, it's kind of what I discovered initially, that like everything else, the comps are not showing what the market is. So if you pull this up quickly, I actually have an offer from a builder for $850 for construction lot. And if you look at the comps, you're not going to see that number necessarily supported. So, and that's what I was hoping we might clarify today, is that because the way that's being structured, it's actually with 6% commission in there, it'd be more like $825. They're offering, what they're doing is they don't have an agent on their side. So that's 800 with just 3%. At 850. Does that make sense?
It does.
All right. So so in this exercise, I would look to see, because the seller wants to hold out for more money. So what I need to figure out now is whether it makes any sense. It doesn't seem like it makes sense to me, but I'm going to continue to
try and get
more
money. And I've got a good 45 minutes before I have anything else. So I'm happy to continue on with this, get back to where we were, and continue the conversation with you, Fred, and anybody who wants to hang tight with us. Or it is being recorded, so you can go back and just watch the after party later if you're so inclined. But I'm happy to stay on. But I will say, for anybody who needs to go, thank you so much for joining us for Pricing Pros today. We really appreciate you participating and being part of this in our workout session. Hope you learned something that can be of use to you in your own comp analyses. And we hope to see you next time. Teddy's just changed the day and timing of it. It's going to be the first Thursday, just the first Thursday. We were doing it twice a month. He's going to try first Thursday, 10:30 to 11:30. So we hope to see you next time. All right. And with that, let's get back to where we were.
Fred, I've got a question. That 850, is that contingent on due diligence, or is it just like a verbal kind of, hey, I'll buy that for 850, don't put it on the market?
No, it's the only stipulations are it's contingent on financing, but there's no inspection.
Okay.
And there's no due diligence.
I mean, because what's interesting to me about that, what that smells like to me is they think that they can build 2 houses there. And are you?
No, I know this builder personally.
And he knows.
And he's built in the area for $2 million.
Okay.
That's why I called him.
So he can build something really spectacular that's under 5,000 square feet.
He's got it figured out somehow, yeah.
Okay.
Because you're right.
And land, there just is no land, and so you just pay what you have to get it. Because nothing from nothing is nothing. So if you don't have any land, then there is no margin. So that's really interesting. Well, I wonder so the question is, if you put it out there on the open market that way, if you get any other bites, or that's really interesting.
All right, Fred, I got us back to where we were and saved it, because the old interface, you can save them, and now we can continue.
Yeah, so I've watched the process, and I'm seeing a lot of 600 and 700s, and they don't really, in my situation, don't apply.
Yeah.
So, but I wanted you to run the exercise and then come to your conclusion before I dump that in. But since we were running short on time, up to the chase, but we can still look at what we have.
What about this one? 3504 General Bait, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1872 square feet. I mean, it seems like a pretty good comp.
Well, here's the thing. It's really not a comp, and I'll tell you why. There's 3 builders in that area. All offered 8 or above.
Huh. Interesting.
So I don't know how you approach this for your exercise.
So this is interesting. It says flood insurance required. We looked at the flood zone. And I didn't think we saw anything in that range that that fell into the flood zone, but I guess I was mistaken. Right.
Probably in that 1 mile, we caught a piece of one.
Yeah, could be. Map. Can't remember if I can put that. I think I can put that layer on here. Let's see. Flood zone. There we go. Let's turn the flood zone on here. For those who are still playing along at home, we do have layers here as well, as we did in CRS tax, counties, zip codes, flood zone. You can look at the street level or satellite level. So we just turned on the flood zone. Yep, sure enough. Look there. Right through there. Yep. Didn't just barely caught it. We encompassed it.
Wow, look at that.
I know. Wow. Hey, you know, there's something to be said for that in terms of value, Fred. You're not in a flood zone, and a lot of these are.
Yeah.
I have a question. I mean, my gut would be if I were looking at something from a comp point of view or from a builder's point of view, I would probably do two completely different, like I would just go down one thought process and stay in there and then do the other one separately. You might be pulling up the same comps, but you're looking, you know, you're not toggling back and forth. And so from that builder point of view, you know, would you actually just pull up Oak Hill and not do the 1 mile radius? You know, it may be from a residential point of view, unless there's a significant school difference or something like that. It might be like the location being all kind of similar, even if you're in Oak Hill or not. But do you think you would, if you're looking at it from a land point of view, that you would only look at Oak Hill and not look, you know, forget about the floodplain stuff? But
Yeah.
Well, it does help eliminate the floodplain. You could do a map search that you draw and then draw out the ones that are in the floodplain. Don't
Yes.
use 1 mile don't use a 1 mile radius. Draw your parameters.
Right.
Oh,
So draw. Need to zoom out. Lindsay says in a more normal market, would a builder pay less than list price if they were going to tear the house down? And how would you determine that value?
I mean, without knowing more specifics, I'd say that couldn't, what's the word I'm thinking? That could go either way.
Right.
It could go either way. The house could have value or not. The value to having a home on there for a builder is a liability. They got to tear it down.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, in a normal market, I would price it for highest and best. Now, if a builder wants to come and make a lowball offer, that's perfectly fine. And then it's up to the seller to decide. I wouldn't price it for the lower. You know, you want to price it for the realistic highest and best. And, you know, what Fred, it seems like you're pursuing here is that the highest and best could be the teardown.
it looks like it. Yeah. What I found in this neighborhood is that the ones that get sold as homes are larger square footage than this. And you have in the comps that I pulled up, the ones that are, excuse me, renovated, fixed up, are larger square footage than this. This size, they tend to take them down and build new.
Just curious on this one, if you can tell if it was sold. Can't always tell, but if you could tell if it was sold by or bought by a builder. I was just curious again. Just so many rabbit holes, so little time.
So Fred, is it possible that your seller is trying to hold out for other buyers, I mean, other builders.
Yes.
So she's trying to position it as a sort of a bidding war between different builders. Is that what you're
Yeah.
sensing?
Well, this is, and I don't know if I'm totally comfortable with this because this is being recorded, but what
Wonder
we're,
if I can, let me see if I can stop that. Hang on. Ah. Yes.